Welcome back to the deep dive. We're doing something a little different today.
Right.
Usually we take a stack of articles or maybe a new study and we break it down, but today we're tackling a specific text.
And not just any text. I'd say it's arguably the foundational document for a whole corner of the internet.
A very specific corner, yeah. We are talking about The Irrational Male by Rollo Tomassi. Now, depending on where you hang out online, those words might make you roll your eyes or they might make you nod your head. It's controversial, it's polarizing.
Oh, for sure. It's heavy on the terminology. Red pill, alpha, beta, all that stuff.
Exactly. But our mission today isn't to judge it or even to debate it. Our mission is just to decode it.
Right. And if you can strip away some of that internet slang, which I think can be a real barrier for people.
It can be.
But what Tomassi's really doing is presenting a treatise on behavioral psychology and evolutionary biology. He's basically arguing that the operating system we all use for relationships is glitchy.
Because it ignores our hardware.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah. And the central metaphor he uses is, famously, straight out of the Matrix. The idea that men are plugged in to a social conditioning that actively works against them.
He calls it the feminine imperative. His premise is that society, media, our whole upbringing has sold men a very specific, almost Disney-fied version of romance.
Right. Be the supporting character in a woman's life, provide for her, be the nice guy, sacrifice your own identity.
And you'll be rewarded with love and desire?
It's the plot of, every single romantic comedy from the 90s. The guy jumps through all the hoops, proves his devotion, and gets the girl in the end.
Exactly. And Tomassi's entire argument is that this blueprint is a lie. He argues that following that script doesn't just fail to work, it actively kills attraction.
So he wants to take a colder, more pragmatic look at what actually generates desire versus what just generates comfort.
Precisely.
So if we're going to really understand this whole philosophy, we have to start with the one concept that he says ruins the most men, the myth of the one.
Ah, yes. This is where he takes the sledgehammer out immediately. He calls it one-itis.
One-itis. It sounds like a medical condition.
In his view, it is a pathology. He defines it as an obsessive, really unhealthy, romantic fixation on a single person. And it almost always happens when that affection isn't fully reciprocated.
Okay, but hold on. Most people would just call that being in love or, finding your soulmate. Why does he frame it as a disease?
Because of the scarcity mindset. I mean, think about it. If you believe there is only one soulmate for you out of 8 billion people, and you think you've found her.
You're operating from a place of absolute terror.
Yes. You're terrified of losing her because, in your mind, she's your only shot at happiness.
So you stop acting like a normal human being.
You stop being yourself.
Yeah.
You start performing. You walk on eggshells because you can't risk doing anything that might push her away. Tomassi argues this just paralyzes a man.
And the irony, the really cruel irony, is that this fear, this neediness, is exactly what turns her off.
Right. He literally writes, there are some good ones and some bad ones, but there is no one. When a man puts a woman on that kind of pedestal, he forces her to look down on him.
It creates a power imbalance.
It cements it. She becomes the prize, and he's just the lucky contestant who's desperately trying to hold on.
And that dynamic, that power imbalance, is really the engine of the entire book, which leads us right to what he calls the cardinal rule of relationships. I have it highlighted right here. It's pretty stark.
It is the one quote that sums up the whole philosophy, really. In any relationship, the person with the most power is the one who needs the other the least.
Wow. I mean, that is a very cold way to look at human connection. It sounds more like a hostage negotiation.
It does, but Tomassi would argue it's just physics. It's unavoidable. And he clarifies that it's not about being a tyrant or, being domineering. It's about frame.
Frame.
If you fear losing the relationship more than she does, you have lost control of your own life. You are now operating entirely on her terms. You're reacting, not leading.
And that leads to what he calls the biggest mistake men make when they lose that power. They try to negotiate desire.
Yes. This is a huge concept in the book.
It was a real aha moment for me reading this. The difference between negotiated desire and genuine desire.
It's the crucial distinction. Tomassi argues that genuine, raw, burning desire, it cannot be negotiated. It just is. It's biological.
But the average frustrated chump, the AFC, he calls him, he relies on logic.
Deductive logic, yeah. He thinks relationships are transactional.
If I do X, then I should get Y.
Exactly. If I listen to her problems for 3 hours, if I do all the dishes, if I buy her that expensive gift, then she will desire me. He thinks you can earn lust through service.
It's the nice guy vending machine. I put kindness in and sex should fall out.
And when it doesn't work, he gets frustrated.
Yeah.
But Tomassi points out something even darker, even if it does result in sex.
It's what he calls obligated compliance. Ouch.
Yeah, obligated compliance. She's sleeping with you because she feels she owes you, or just to keep the peace. That's not desire. That is pity or payment.
You can force compliance, but you can't force desire.
You can't force her to want to tear your clothes off. It just doesn't work that way.
So if that nice guy strategy is basically trying to bribe a woman into liking you, and that kills the vibe, what's the alternative? Because this brings us to the most controversial tool in his whole kit, plate theory.
Ah, plate theory, yes. This is his antidote to onudis. The visual he uses is that old circus act, a guy spinning multiple ceramic plates on sticks.
You have to keep them all moving.
Right. And in the dating context, it means a man should have multiple romantic prospects, plates, spinning simultaneously.
Okay, I can already hear the listeners right now. So the advice is just be a player or be a man whore.
And he would say that completely misses the point. It's not about sleeping around just for the sake of numbers. It's about manufacturing an abundance mentality.
So fake it till you make it, basically.
In a way. But the point is, when you have options, you aren't desperate. If one plate falls, if one woman rejects you or flakes on a date, it's not a tragedy.
You have other plates spinning.
Right. It changes your entire vibe from, please, please like me, to, let's see if you fit into my life. You aren't necessitous. That's a word he uses constantly.
And here's the kicker that always seems to upset people. He claims women have like a sixth sense for this.
He calls it competition anxiety. And he argues, and this is a direct quote, a woman would rather share a high-value man than be saddled with a faithful loser.
Wow. That completely flips the standard script on monogamy. I mean, we're taught that loyalty is the #1 trait.
It is, eventually. But in the attraction phase, the logic is all about social proof. If other women want you, you must have value.
It's like a restaurant with a line out the door. You just assume the food is good.
Exactly. If you are exclusively focused on one woman before she's earned that commitment, it signals that you have no other customers. It signals your low value. His advice is that men give away their commitment, which is their most valuable asset, way too cheaply.
So spin plates to keep your head clear and to vet for the best possible partner.
Not just to rack up a score.
Yeah.
That's the idea.
Okay, we've been dancing around these terms alpha and beta. In pop culture, alpha is usually the loud guy at the gym throwing weights around. But the book's definition is, it's a lot more nuanced than that.
Much more. He's very clear. Alpha is a mindset, not a demographic.
Yay.
It's not about how much you bench press. It's about being unplugged from the need for external validation.
You can be a broke musician and be alpha.
Or a rich CEO and be totally beta.
He uses this really specific, kind of hilarious example to prove this point. Corey Worthington, the Australian kid, remember him?
The alpha Buddha. I love this example because it's so absurd, but it fits his point perfectly. For anyone who doesn't remember, Corey was this teenager who threw a house party that basically destroyed his neighborhood. It was global news.
And the police are there, the neighbors are screaming, the media is just trying to crucify him.
And he's just standing there in these bright yellow sunglasses. And the reporter is trying to shame him, trying to make him apologize. And Corey just adjusts his glasses and says, I'll say sorry, but I'm not taking off my glasses.
He didn't care.
Total indifference. And that is the alpha trait Tomassi highlights. He wasn't looking for the reporter's approval. He wasn't looking for society's permission. He was operating 100% in his own frame.
And that's contrasted with the beta or the AFC.
Right. The beta is the guy who plays by the rules, hoping he'll get a treat. He creates what Tomassi calls covert contracts.
I'll be a good friend to you, I'll support you, and in exchange, you will eventually realize you're in love with me.
Yes, the sniper mentality, lying in wait, which of course lands him directly in the friend zone, and Tomassi is absolutely brutal about the friend zone.
He says the let's just be friends speech is the ultimate rejection.
It means you are good enough to give me attention and validation, but not good enough for intimacy. His advice, never accept the friendship. You want romance and she offers friendship, you walk away.
Because you can't negotiate desire.
Exactly. If she saw you as a sexual option, you wouldn't be in the friend zone in the first place. Staying there just makes you an orbiter, a satellite circling a planet you'll never, ever land on.
This brings us to the biological engine driving all of this. We have to talk about hypergamy. This is probably part of the philosophy that gets the most pushback.
Because it suggests men and women love differently. It challenges that idea of unconditional love. The red pill definition of hypergamy is that women have this dual mating strategy. It's evolutionary.
Okay.
On one hand, biology drives them toward good genes.
The physical stuff.
Right. Attraction, risk-taking, dominance. This is the alpha, the guy who might survive a saber-toothed tiger attack. But historically, that guy might not stick around. He's volatile.
So the second drive kicks in.
The good dad drive.
All
Security, provisioning, stability, these are the traits you usually find in the beta. Tomassi argues that women are naturally conflicted. They want the stability of the beta, but they crave the excitement of the alpha.
So the nice guy gets the marriage, but doesn't get the passion.
Unless he can maintain that alpha edge. Tomassi warns that men often kill attraction by vomiting their feelings. They think sharing every single fear and insecurity creates closeness.
Honey, let me tell you about my childhood trauma on our second date.
Right. And Tomassi says that just destroys her imagination. Attraction needs space. It needs the unknown. If she can predict your every move, if she knows exactly how weak you feel, the spark dies. Women want to feel like they're with a man who can handle things, not a man who needs them to handle things.
He even brings up war brides to explain this. That was a dark turn.
It's a dark historical observation, yeah. But he uses it to prove the point about adaptability. He notes that throughout history, when a conquering army took over a village, the women often adapted to the new dominant males, the conquerors.
For survival, while their men were usually killed.
Exactly. He argues this is evolutionary hardwiring. Women are wired to align with whoever holds the power. So if you, as the husband, give up that power, if you become submissive, if you let her lead, her biology screams that you are no longer the best option for survival.
It's not malice, it's instinct.
That's his argument. It's a pragmatic, almost clinical view of love as a marketplace.
And speaking of markets, that brings us to the actual graph he includes in the book. He literally charts sexual market value, or SMV.
He does. And if you're listening, just imagine a graph. The x-axis is age, the y-axis is value. The lines for men and women are basically inverses of each other.
So walk us through the timeline.
According to Tomassi, a woman's SMV peaks very early between, say, 18 and 24. This is purely biological. Peak fertility, peak youth. This is when she has the most leverage in the dating market. She is the chooser.
And then comes the wall.
The wall is the concept that after 30, her sexual value begins to decline relative to the market, and her priority has to shift. She moves from looking for the exciting alpha to trying to lock down a secure beta provider before her leverage is gone.
And meanwhile, where are the men on this graph?
A man's line starts at, like, 0. A 19-year-old guy usually has no status, no money, no confidence. He's invisible. But if he built himself up, his value peaks much, much later, 35, 38, even into his 40s.
The George Clooney effect.
Exactly. As he acquires resources, status, confidence, he becomes more attractive. So the trade-off is that men trade their commitment, which becomes more valuable as they age, for a woman's peak fertility and beauty.
And Tomassi's warning is basically, don't sell low.
Don't squander your peak years by settling down too early, or by not realizing that you hold the cards later in life. He wants men to realize the balance of power shifts in their favor if they wait and build themselves.
Okay, so let's bring this down to the individual listener. If someone is sitting there right now realizing, oh no, I'm the beta. I'm the one negotiating for desire. I have Oneidus. What's the fix? How do you kill the beta?
Well, it starts with unplugging, which he admits is painful. It's an identity crisis. You have to admit that everything you thought you knew about making a woman happy was actually making her bored.
He talks about removing buffers.
Yes. Buffers are things men use to protect their egos from rejection. Pornography is the biggest one. It simulates sexual abundance without any of the risk. It keeps you docile.
And long-distance relationships.
He calls LDRs invisible friends. He argues they're not real relationships because you don't have the day-to-day reality. You're just projecting a fantasy onto someone 1,000 miles away. It's safe. You can't be rejected by a fantasy.
So to kill the beta, you have to risk real in-your-face rejection.
You have to stop identifying with the woman's needs and start prioritizing your own. You have to become the main character in your own movie.
And there's a real irony he points out here. When a man finally does this, when he focuses on his career, his body, his mission, and stops chasing the woman so hard, what happens?
She usually becomes more attracted to him. And that's the central paradox of the entire book. Society tells men to be soft, accommodating, vulnerable. But when a man becomes independent, a little selfish, focused on his mission, when he acts like the prize, he triggers that biological desire we talked about earlier.
By stopping the chase, you effectively win the race.
In a way. But the goal isn't just to get the girl. The goal is to build a life so interesting and valuable that a woman wants to be a part of it.
Which brings us to a final, pretty provocative thought Tomassi leaves us with. He suggests that women are dream killers.
It sounds incredibly harsh, doesn't it? But he does clarify, it's not out of malice, it's a conflict of interest.
How so?
A woman wants a man with a mission, an ambitious, driven man. But once she has him, her evolutionary drive is for him to settle down, be safe, and focus all his resources on her and the children.
She falls in love with the rock star.
Then asks him to sell the guitar and get a nice, safe job with health insurance. She wants the security, but she fell for the risk.
So Tomassi's challenge to the listener is, are you the focus of your own life? Or have you sacrificed your potential on the altar of a relationship?
Because if you want to be the rational male, your mission has to come first. If you make her the center of your universe, you lose your gravity.
That is a lot to process. It's a very, very different lens than what we usually hear. And whether you see this as a grim reality check or, a cynical strategy guide, it definitely forces you to look at your interactions differently.
It certainly takes the rose-colored glasses off. It asks you to look at behavior, not just at words.
That's it for this deep dive. We're curious. Does this red pill philosophy match what you see out there in the real world, or is it too cold for comfort? Think on it, observe the dynamics around you, and we'll catch you on the next one.